We are live.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Rachel, how's it going?
Good, Julie. How you doing?
Good. I didn't even think about this, but we should probably introduce ourselves
Oh,
and
yeah.
tell people who we are. But I see Emma and Deb join. Hey. And a bunch of other people too. So nice to see you. And before we get started on our topic, just to make sure you know who we are, in case you randomly just found us on Substack, my name is Julie Duffy Dillon, and I'm a registered dietitian. And I've been helping people with PCOS for over 25 years now, which I'm like, I don't know. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
So I write about ways to promote health with PCOS without another crappy, rigid diet. And some of those things like dieting and all the things that comes with like the PCOS diagnosis is part of some of my concerns with the name change. But we'll wait on that. But this is my friend Rachel. Rachel, please let them know all about you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Popick. I am a Philadelphia-based private chef, recipe developer, cooking instructor, who is very focused on food being something that nourishes you and comforts you rather than something that you use for punishment. And I, in my body, live with PCOS and have for a long time. So I am very plugged into the PCOS space, and I also have some personal stake in the matter because
Personal stake for sure. Yeah.
this be the body that I exist in.
Yeah. And you may be wondering, like, how did Rachel and I connect? Because you and I have been working together for years now. And,
Yeah.
even though I'm a dietitian, I don't enjoy cooking. And like Rachel loves cooking and also was like really wanting to do work in the anti-diet space. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great match.
It's a perfect match.
Yes. So we are here to talk about the PCOS name change. And if this is news to you, PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome is now polyendocrine. I have to look at my notes because I'm still getting used to this. Polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. And there's a there was a drop in the Lancet, the scholarly journal Lancet, that basically shared the official name, and it was like started this whole like snowball effect of everyone being like, "What's going on?" And they talked a lot about how they changed the name and why. But I'm curious for you, Rachel, when you heard there was a name change, what did you think? What was your initial reaction? And you could be totally honest.
So it's something that has been talked about for a while. And
Yeah.
so
I mean, since like 95.
okay, so a very long time.
You
But
were
I
like
feel like
middle
in the
school,
past
Rachel.
few years I've been there's been whispers of it.
Mhm.
And I've been like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like it makes sense. PCOS doesn't really make sense. Um My gut reaction when I saw it was like, "Oh, okay, it finally happened." And then it's, really earth-shattering, right? Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
You're like,
And and then the skeptical part of me was like, "Okay, but, how much money was spent to,
mhm,
rebrand this thing?
mhm,
But, does
mhm.
that mean any more money is gonna go towards research or care of people with PMOS? Like, what does this actually mean and what material difference does it make for people living with
Yeah. Yeah.
PCOS, PMOS? So
Yeah. And sidebar, is it gonna be PMOS? PMOS?
yeah, PMOS? That sounds weird.
I mean, it's like urinating moss. I don't know, like that's
Yeah, and I just think I mean, my skepticism is just on a roll now, and
I love it. This is
my
my favorite.
other, gripe is that, right, PCOS as it is such an understood
Mhm.
disorder from medical providers, right? And so now we have this thing that people that medical providers barely understood to begin with that now has a new name. So it's like,
Mhm.
are medical providers really it just feels like it adds a lot more confusion.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of risk with change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that and um I think over the next few weeks, for those who are like in the PCOS space, which I'm going to keep using PCOS probably for a year, just FYI. I'm like, I'm just gonna be a late adopter. My credential as a dietitian, registered dietitian, it changed to registered dietitian nutritionist about 10 years ago, and I still don't call myself an RDN. I'm like, but anyway, the Lancet article does go through. I mean, that's one thing I really appreciate about how. uh, I mean, it's hard to even capture who was involved in this because there was so many different types of people, and I really appreciate that. Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't just a bunch of white guys who were academics, working in a lab who decided we're gonna change the name. It wasn't just a bunch of doctors,
mhm.
but it was actually, like, lots of people with lived experience and activists and things like that. So, and, there were, like, 14,000 plus survey responses,
Yeah.
um and the other thing too is, the Lancet article talks a little bit about how they'll make the transition, which again, I'm like, just going through, change in big organizations before,
Yeah.
and see how horribly it has been executed. I'm not saying this is perfect by any means, because no, but I appreciate the transparency, um, and yeah, I I agree with so many with what exactly what you're saying, like,
Yeah.
um, I think it's gonna be many different things, positive and negative for a
Totally.
long time. And, yeah, my gut reaction was like, "Oh, this is a cool, shiny new thing," when I first heard, but then I was also really glad that it the name includes more of actually what the condition is instead of what it isn't really.
Right.
I mean, I just had someone the other day mention to me that their doctor said they had PCOS because they had a cyst on their ovary, and you're like, "Hello, come to
Right.
2026."
Right.
There's no cysts involved with PCOS. I know that doesn't seem like it should be accurate, but
And,
it's
like,
no cysts.
PCOS was never a good name.
It was
Like,
never a good name. Yeah,
we
exactly.
I feel like we could I mean, I'm sure there's a way we could get worse, but it feels like we can only get better from
I'm
right?
sure.
Like,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Like whoever named Hysteria, like,
yeah.
I'm sure it could have been worse, but still. But yeah, like, even though it was clunky and it wasn't accurate, it had been around for long enough
Mhm.
that I think about all the folks who have worked tirelessly for years and years, probably for free, to just advocate for funding and awareness, and how, just that fear of like, crap, all these things that we've worked on to help
Yeah.
people just to know what even PCOS was, to even
Mhm.
just have it on their radar, how this one letter change will impact that. And yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, one thing I wanted to talk about, I'm going to go through a little loose outline real quick. Like, let's discuss a little bit about why they changed the name and how they did it. We've done
Mhm.
some of that a little already, but then also like the pros and cons. We'll kind of dig into that a little bit more. And something that I will communicate to you is like, I don't necessarily know how I feel yet, but that's totally on brand for me. Like, as an Enneagram 4, I like to take my time with my feelings. And so it often takes me a good week or 2 to be like, "Okay, this is how I feel." And, eh, a lot of it's just trying to figure out how to name it? So, with that all being said, let's talk about why they changed it. And, some of the things you've already mentioned, this condition that has cysts on the ovaries, you don't even have to have these, quote, "cysts on the ovaries," and they're not cysts anyway, they're just these immature follicles.
Right. Oh, looks like Julie might have frozen. She did mention that her internet's been a little shoddy, so if
Um,
she Oh,
the third Oh, are you there? Am I losing you?
yeah, you froze for a little bit, and I'm not sure if that was for everyone experienced that or just me.
Well, we'll see.
But what the
Uh,
last thing I got was that they're just immature follicles.
yes. Okay, good. Thank you. And, um, dear audience member, my internet has been real funky the last few days, so, uh, I'm just holding it together that I get through this before it crashes. But yeah, so I used to love having this like trivial pursuit level of knowledge about like PCOS. You don't even have to have cysts on your ovaries, and they're not cysts anyway. Like I was saying, they're just immature follicles. And the way diagnosis is progressing is, to get diagnosed using the Rotterdam criteria, a person needs to meet two out of the three. And the number one is irregular or absent ovulation. Two is signs of high androgens. And the third used to be evidence of multiple immature follicles on ultrasound. And now there's another option, which is or an elevated AMH level, anti-Müllerian hormone, that can replace it. So
Mhm.
for so many reasons, it's good that that's not like front and center being like the ovaries. Um, and the when I started working with PCOS, the thing that people kept coming to me for was these intense cravings and they were exhausted. And they also had like this really complicated relationship with food because they'd been told to diet and they were doing it, but they weren't losing weight and felt like crap all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was really evident to me like, wow, PCOS has lots of things involved besides the reproductive system,
Mhm.
but yet no one knew that. Like, I don't know if you ever felt this way, but like so many of my clients were experiencing these things like with this chaotic kind of relationship with food, but they thought that they were the only ones. They didn't think it was about having PCOS being a part of
Totally.
it.
Totally. No, I mean, when I was diagnosed, I was told, like, "Go on," like, you know, "You're on birth control, great. Lose some weight, and you probably will never be able to have kids. Goodbye." And so, I was experiencing those other things that you mentioned, but I had no idea that they were at all connected to the PCOS. I was just like, "That's
Yeah.
the other thing."
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting some weird internet again, but I think it caught me up to you. I may have been frozen for a second.
Yeah, you were a little
Um,
frozen, but
yes, thank you for continuing to go with it. Um, so yeah, like I think this new name captures more of actually the typical experience um, for people. And so like when they get diagnosed and they hear that name, hopefully then they'll understand like, oh, it's not just about my weird periods. It's also like my hormones, my insulin levels, um, and it's many different hormones. It's not just this like one layer. So, yes. So the other thing I wanted to mention was how they changed the name. And like I said, in the Lancet article, they go really deep into how they did this. But I do know it took over 10 years and they agreed upon the name in February of this year. Um, and I also just want to say again, I just appreciate so much how people with PCOS were actually involved in all stages of this, like
Mhm.
designing the surveys, development workshops, presentations, like communication, like they were involved throughout. And you know what's somebody asked me if I took any of the surveys to change the name,
Uh-huh.
and I cannot remember.
It's funny because you said that, you were like, "I can't remember," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I did take a," like, that triggered, like, "Oh, I did at some point in the last few years take a name change related survey." But
I need to dig through my emails, but I really think between my chronic migraine and my divorce a few years ago, like I just think my memory got wiped. It's just like
yeah, yeah,
but today or yesterday I started a new migraine preventative, so fingers crossed.
crossing all the fingers.
Let's see if that one will work so then I can remember things again. So, let's talk about what we don't like about the name. And some of the things you already mentioned, like who's this helping? Like like all this time and energy went into a name change. Could that energy be focused somewhere else? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that what you were talking about? Like, is it like diverting some attention?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the skeptical part of me that's like, there's only limited funding.
Mhm.
Is that the best use of the money and the time that was spent, or just kind of educating healthcare providers on PCOS,
Mhm.
regardless of the name? Like, was that a better use of time and funding? I think it's also just, I mean, not that PCOS, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, was not a mouthful, but the new name is like an even more mouthful.
Polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome.
Yes. And yes, like time that'll flow easier, but it's a
Yeah, it's gonna
clunky
be
clunky name,
clunky. Yeah, yeah. And the big con that I think about for this, I share everything that you said, but also I think about diagnosis. Like, it's already so hard to get a PCOS diagnosis. And
yeah,
I think the most recent number I read was that 70% of people have this condition but never get diagnosed.
yeah,
So, and I mean, and there's already like 1 in 8 people with uteruses have it. So, like, holy crap. There's so many people walking around without having this diagnosis. And so, that comes down to access, like healthcare access, and then also like training clinicians to be able to
mhm,
diagnose it. And so by changing the name, who's going to get missed then?
right,
Um that's something about it. And then the other part, you know, um there are many years that I did different types of memberships or communities with PCOS. And the reason why I loved doing them.
mhm. Well, I'm sure there are some reasons why she loved doing that.
Am I freezing?
The reasons why you loved doing them.
Oh, thank you. Thank God for you, Rachel. The reason why I love doing them so much is that people coming together with a chronic condition is so powerful.
Mhm,
You know,
absolutely.
like, again, when I would work with people individually, they were all telling me the same things or so many similar
Mhm,
things. And so coming together, it destigmatizes, it helps increase access. And so I wonder, is it going to be harder to form community? Even if it's just little bit harder, I
yeah,
think that could be a big deal for many people to not access community because it's already hard to get together.
yeah,
So, having a couple initial changes, I think could get in the way.
mhm,
And again, like I was saying earlier, all these organizations that work so hard to get PCOS recognized, my heart is breaking for them, and hopefully they will find
right.
new tools to help with a new name. And I really wish they could have kept the initials the same.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier if they could have kept the
That's
initials.
what I was, like, hoping for, because I think that would have been ideal, and
Yeah,
I get the sense that they tried to do that, but
yeah.
it just didn't work out. What are the pros of this new name? What do you think?
Um, I mean, I think that like we said, like, the taking the focus away from the ovaries, like, the
Mhm.
cysts on the ovaries is huge because that's not accurate. I also think that the I know I've been like, "Funding, funding, funding," but
Mhm.
maybe the fact that the name is not as, like, ovary focused.
Mhm.
I mean, like,
Mhm.
ovarian's still in the name, but it feels like maybe it takes it a little bit away from the reproductive focus of the
Mhm.
name, and so therefore maybe, like, new funding stream
Mhm.
or just the perennial lack of funding for reproductive medicine, like,
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
that will create new opportunities, and I don't know, like, it's like a flashy new thing, so maybe that will generate
True.
some buzz in a
Yeah.
way that, um, hasn't been before.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because, I mean, I saw something in the New York Times this morning about the
Right,
name change. So it's getting attention, which is always really great because it's
right,
lacking.
right.
You mentioned the funding thing and people appreciating how it's like going to be more holistic, like whole body condition, and understanding that that's the pro and the con for me because, and I have a feeling you're going to get what I'm saying here. Like, especially the word metabolism,
Mhm.
I have concerns.
Yeah,
'Cause it does impact metabolism. I mean, like, that's why I ended up specializing in PCOS is because how it impacted insulin and diabetes and, heart disease and inflammation, all those things. And I also know that our world loves to throw diets at metabolism.
Yep.
And I can just see for many people the focus going towards um, further punishment for higher weight.
Yes.
And that makes me really uncomfortable because I guess maybe that was the one perk of PCOS. A
Right.
friend from the PCOS newsletter is also commenting that Fran agrees. Yes, I'm afraid that it's going to be even more of a weight focus. Yeah, because the old PCOS didn't have metabolism in it, which missed things, but
Right.
also missed things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
I did see like not wanted to say tweets, but it's not Twitter, like
yeah,
thread,
I
like
think calling it tweets, Twitter is kind of
quote tweets
rebellious.
on threads, like multiple of them yesterday and today that were along the lines of like, great. So now that like PCOS is considered like metabolic thing, like can I get my GLP-1 covered? Or
Mhm.
like, and I I have a lot of complicated feelings about
Right.
hormones,
Yes.
obviously.
It's
I've
very
shared them
complicated.
before, but it
Mhm.
does that to me was like that light bulb of,
Mhm.
"Oh, yeah, now that it is metabolic focused, like, is the GLP-1 push gonna be even stronger
Mhm.
than it already is?"
Yeah. Yeah, I do have this, like, deep dive on GLP-1s and PCOS because I was very also, like, conflicted. I'm still very conflicted. Um, but I wanted to, like, let's just see what the research says.
Yeah,
And the thing with GLP-1s that would be so much easier, I think, for me as a clinician, um, I'm they if they were not like a weight loss medication, if it was
right,
like, let's treat your medical conditions, which the way that GLP-1s work, it can really help some people with PCOS. But yet many insurance coverage or insurance companies that cover it will only cover it if you're losing weight.
right,
And so it doesn't really matter if you're improving health.
right.
So,
Well, like, I tried to take one on a subclinical dose,
Mhm.
and it did, like, my inflammation, it made such a big change, and then my insurance was like, "That's too small of a dose. You're not losing weight on that dose, and, like, we're not going to cover you on this small dose anymore." Like,
It's so, like,
you need to
infuriating
take more of it in order for us to cover it.
and risk all the things that can happen.
Right, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Well, I don't wanna do that." Like,
I know. I don't want that much. There's so many more risks when you start titrating up the dose.
yeah,
And if it's improving health, why are we not okay with that?
right,
No. Yeah, so I think that that's where we're gonna be walking a tightrope, right? Is like, is the metabolic acknowledgement gonna be a pro or con, you know? And with the current climate about, like, dieting and, how we're, like, circa 2003 probably in diet culture with some added, fascism, I just think it's going and I think we need to be really advocating for people with PCOS or PMOS to get access to care regardless of their size. And, the most recent evidence-based guidelines still report that a person with PCOS doesn't have to lose weight in order to improve health, that there are no diets that have been found to help most people, and that weight stigma and weight bias really negatively impact people with PCOS and impact their health outcomes. So we need to stop it. Stop, stop
yeah,
with the weight stigma.
yeah,
So, you should be able to access a healthcare provider whether or not you lose weight and like
yeah,
get access to medicine whether or not you lose weight. And I know that's not the reality, but that's what I know you and I are working
yeah.
toward is changing that. So yeah, it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag, and I think time will tell.
Time will tell. Exactly. I mean, we're going to keep saying the same things.
Right.
We're going to keep like providing tools that'll help you to feel more at home in your body, to promote health, without another stupid rigid diet. And so,
Right.
we'll keep doing that. And I I really do hope that the transition I feel like any change, there's like a clunkiness during the transition, right? There's like some
Yeah.
kind of hardship. And so the name needed to change. And so now we're living through that transition. And so I hope we can keep community together. So then, yeah, resources still stay available. So,
Yeah.
yes. Anyway, so those are thoughts so far.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have more a week from now, a month from now, a year from now.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the Lancet article, they said that they being like the the medical body, the Monash group that is behind like the evidence-based guidelines, they're going to interchange PCOS and PMOS for 2 years.
Okay.
And then when the new guidelines come out in 2028, that's when it'll officially change. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm giving myself a year
Yeah.
to say PCOS and to not to change my like graphics.
Right. Right.
I'm not rushing. I can't do
Nope.
that.
Nope.
Yes. So anyway, so I anything you want to say before we
I don't think so. I
end?
think just about
Okay.
covers it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in the end it'll be better. I think it will. I think in the end it can be better
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't become another way to body shame somebody. I
Yes.
mean, that's because I do think it'll help with the funding and
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Yeah.
anyway, well, thanks, Rachel, for jumping on.
Of course.
And,
Always a delight chatting.
and I appreciate you helping me with my internet glitchiness.
Yeah, but
'Cause,
you didn't fully disappear, so that's
I
a win.
mean, we're going to just say that's a win.
Yeah. All we can ask for on this Wednesday.
That's all we can ask for. Well, I will send out a follow-up from this in my
Mhm.
email. So I'll put a link to the Lancet article and just the things we talked about. And yeah, so bye for now, I guess. See you
Yep.
later, Rachel. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.